Hey everybody, this is Helena, and I'm here with my very good friend and fellow coach, Matt Shaffer, again today. Welcome, Matt.
Hi, Helena. It's so nice to be back. I love just hanging out with you and your tribe. It's one of my favorite things in the whole world.
Yes, absolutely. We did a live stream last week and we had so much fun connecting with you guys. We were going to pre-record this and make it a shorter video, but Matt said, you know what, let's connect live so we can answer questions. So we're going to do the content portion at the beginning. We'll get to your questions at the end. So say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from and any questions or experiences you have around this topic or really anything else, let us know and we'll get to as many as we can at the end. And this is actually one of my favorite topics in the whole world to talk about. We're going to be sharing 5 hidden signs that a man is falling for you. And make sure to stay to the end of this video because we're going to be sharing Matt's going to be sharing his top 2 crucial steps for inspiring a man's love and devotion. And while we're waiting for some people to join, Matt, is there anything you want to say? I know you love to set context, which is great.
I always do. And for those of you that may be new to me, my name is Matt Shaffer. I'm an empowerment, connection, and relationship coach for women. I am obsessed with the work that I do. And Helena and I have been thick as thieves for a little while now. She's one of my favorite humans on the whole planet. So it's an honor to be here. And I'm really excited to share with her community, with every one of you, my free upcoming course launch. I am doing a free beta test of my trademark course, Mastery of Connection. It's going to be a 3-week course experience with over 50 hours of live coaching with me. And it's really designed to help you transform your love and relationships from the inside out. So your relationship with yourself and your relationships with everyone in your life, including and most especially men. We're going to do belief work. We're going to do attachment style work. We're going to really help you really understand how you connect with yourself and others so that you can have just a better connections from the inside out in all areas of your life. So it's going to be amazing. You're going to get lots of support from me and my team of coaches, video lessons, and it's going to be running from August 9th through August 30th. So if you want to dive in, all you have to do is fill out an application. It's a $2,000 course. I'm offering it absolutely free to members of Helena's community. So the link should be in the description, and let us know if you have any questions. I think we've had thousands of people from your community come through it and they've just had incredible experiences, right, Helena?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. I'm glad that you said that right up front. So yeah, for everyone watching, just close the live chat. If you're watching live, click the title of this video. It'll open up the description. It's the first link in there. 100% free, no strings attached. This is my absolute favorite thing to recommend. I know I've had so many women from my community have such great success after taking your course. And Matt's going to give you personal coaching, right? During his online office hours, you're going to get all your personal questions answered by Matt and his team. And it's just the most high value thing. If you're going to take one course, I recommend one free program or class from me ever. Just go ahead and take this one. It will change your life. I know it will. So I'm looking forward to hearing about everyone's success stories. With that, thank you for mentioning that, Matt. If you have questions about that, let us know. And let's dive in. What's that first hidden sign that a man is falling for you?
Yeah. So again, now I'm going to drop my context on you.
Oh, love it. Yes.
I always have context. So the context is these are hidden signs because obviously men, because of their lack of emotional agency and a lot of times their fear around vulnerability, right? Men are rarely going to tell you how they're feeling in the early stages of getting to know you, either because they don't know how, or maybe they're afraid to, just because they think if they're vulnerable, if they're open with you, it's going to scare you away. You know, so a lot of times, like a man's demonstrators of interest are going to be hidden. They're going to be nonverbal. They're going to be behavioral. Okay. And so a question that I want you to ask yourself when you're trying to evaluate, does a man really like me? Is he caring about me? Is he falling in love with me? Is to ask yourself, does his consistent behavior over time make you feel more safe or less safe? Okay.
Love that.
So that's a question that, in addition to these 5 things I'm going to be telling you in this video, like you can always ask yourself, check in and ask yourself that question, because like a man who is truly attracted and activated by you, he's going to be doing everything he can to increase your feeling of emotional and physical safety. Like that's just something that at a deep evolutionary energetic level, we're programmed to give and you're programmed to receive. you know? So just recognize that, and recognize that if a man is not making you feel safe consistently over time, then there's something that's not right there, and you want to be watching out for that. So, but let's dive into it, right? Let's dive into these signs. So the first sign, and this is one that, you know, I generally will save till the end if I'm talking about this subject, but I want to lead with it this time because I think it's the most important one, is he future builds with you. Okay, so men are builders, right? Men are constantly in the process of constructing their legacy, constructing their business, constructing their relationships, right? So when it comes to his relationship with you, if a man sees a future with you, he is going to talk about that future. He's going to project into that future. He's going to be in his imagination, being like, oh, well, 3 months from now, we could go to Italy. And wouldn't it be cool to go on this vacation, you know, 6 or 8 months from now? And where would you want to live long term? And what are you doing? Like they're going to be looking into the future because they see you as a part of that future. Does that make sense?
Oh, gosh, that is so true. And if a man is not doing that, would you say that's a little bit of a red flag? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I would say after things get past a certain point, like in the very beginning of dating, it's not a big deal because you're really just focusing on just that present moment and how do y'all feel about each other. But once things get past a certain point, maybe a month or so, if a guy isn't starting to talk about, oh, well, this would be really fun to do, you know, for Halloween, or this would be fun to do next couple months, or wow, any big trips you want to take next year. If a person isn't doing that like regularly, then chances are he may have disqualified you from, you know, a long-term relationship, right? He doesn't see you that way. Probably means he's not emotionally investing in you. Okay, so just look for that and just ask yourself, is he future building with me or not? It's very important.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. I see some great questions in the chat too. Every time I'm looking around, just looking at the chat, the time, the viewers, everybody. So we'll get to those at the end, as many as we can. So I think that's really important, right? Thinking about you like together as a team in the future. And I don't want to get ahead of myself here. So let's jump into that second hidden sign that a man's falling for you.
So the second one is he doesn't just tolerate your flaws, he actually celebrates your flaws. He not only he at least tolerates them, and oftentimes he actually cherishes those things about you that you might be a little embarrassed or awkward, you know, with yourself, right? You might be self-conscious about them, right? Like your dark sense of humor that you like feel like you can't joke to anyone because you're afraid you're going to freak people out because you like to make jokes about whatever, serial killers or something. He'll actually think that that's hot or hilarious or something, you know, or maybe you've got like a serious, you know, badunkadunk, you got a serious booty that's like, you know, you're almost self-conscious about it. And it's literally his favorite thing about you, right? Or you snort when you laugh, or you've just got like weird things that you're like, oh, these are the things that like I get really sticky about myself with. A guy who's really into you, a guy who's falling for you, he's going to see all these weird little quirky things, the things that make you different from a lot of other women out there that you might think are like things that are not necessarily your best features. And he loves and celebrates those because he sees you as different. So the things that make you different are the things he loves the most about you. Does that make sense?
Oh gosh, that is so true. I mean, I've been saying that for years, that men actually fall in love, you know, for what you perceive to be your flaws or what you feel insecure about or maybe want to hide from others, right? That's what makes a man see you as that one special woman that he doesn't want to live without. The right man, right? I mean, even things like, I'm just thinking about my own life, things like, you know, maybe getting anxious sometimes or needing like constant reassurance, where some men might think that's needy and annoying. The right man's gonna like totally get that and go, oh, I get you. And that's not gonna, you know, they're gonna fall in love with you for those things. Of course, there's things you can do. You want to be able to like heal the wounded parts of yourself and soothe yourself and get into like, you know, some of your beliefs. There's always things you can do to work on that end, but you don't have to change who you are or only show the good parts with the right person, right?
No, you want to be able to feel completely safe in fully expressing yourself to the person that you're with. I think that's a hugely important part of being in a loving, authentic, deeply fulfilling relationship, right? And the right guy, the guy who is falling for you, the guy who is truly like emotionally investing in you, he's not just loving your Instagram highlight reel, right? He's loving your darkness and your shadow and your light, your curves and your edges, you know, like he doesn't just want the juicy, you know, fun, happy bits. He wants all of it, you know, And so just recognize that, and recognize that if you feel like there are parts of yourself that you can't show, that you're constantly like feeling shame or embarrassment around, then that is not the guy for you. You know, if he's shaming you or making you feel weird for aspects of yourself, you know, that's a guy that that's being conditional in the way he's accepting you. And that's not the kind of relationship that any of us get to have.
So true. I'm just huge sign that he's not the right man for you. I mean, I have so much to say on all of this, and I'm loving all these comments are so great. I talk a lot. He lets me talk all day. And so people are definitely loving this. So yeah, I think that's so true. I think with the wrong men, you can just tend to want to show him every single thing you have to offer. And it's just never enough for the wrong man, right? With the right guy, you don't even have to do that. Just who you are is enough. It's just the best feeling ever, versus constantly trying to prove yourself to a guy and like win him over. It's never going to work for you if you're at that place. So yeah, I'm loving this, Matt. What's the third hidden sign that a man's falling in love?
So the third hidden sign, and it's hidden in the sense that he's not going to tell you, but it's going to be very clear that this is a huge sign that he's falling for you, is that he makes you feel like an absolute top priority, both physically and emotionally in his life. You know, have you ever been in a relationship where you feel like you're on the back burner, where you feel like you're like a backup plan, or that, you know, it's always kind of hazy or whatever? With a guy who's really falling for you, that is never the case. Right? Like a man, and let's just talk about texting, right? When it comes to texting, a man who's truly investing in you and getting like really excited about you, he is going to check in with you. He's going to ask, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? How's your day going? Like, he's going to be curious about you, because that's an indicator that he's thinking about you. You're on the top of his mind, right? That's what I mean when I say you're a priority to him. And also when you text him, he is going to respond back. As long as he's not in a meeting or he's not super like buried under something, he's going to respond back promptly. And if it takes them a while, he might even apologize. He'd be like, hey, sorry, I couldn't get back to you. I was in a meeting, or I had this thing I had to get done. You know, there's going to be a sense of urgency in the way that he communicates with you. That's a clear sign that, you know, he's not trying to play games, and he wants you to understand that you are a top priority to him communicatively. And then when it comes to emotionally, right? What do I mean by making you a priority emotionally? It means that he is deeply emotionally invested in your feelings. He goes above and beyond to make you happy, which is why when a man is in this space with you, setting boundaries with him with positive feeling statements. It would feel so good if you would hold the door for me when we go out on a date. Those really work with guys that are falling for you, because he's going to be like, oh my gosh, this means, so if I do this, it's going to make you feel good. Well, then let me do more of that. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So you're a top priority.
I love that. And for whatever reason, when you say these are so spot on and true. I'm thinking about the opposite of that, you know, men who are not making you a priority, men who say, oh, I'm really busy right now. You know, we get hooked on his words. He might say he's looking for a serious relationship, but his actions as they pertain to you is not someone who's making you a priority. Right. And
that's 100%. That was going to be the last thing I was going to say about the whole priority, the whole making you a priority physically. And when I say physically, what I mean is no matter what's going on in his physical life, he creates time to see you. He creates time to connect with you. Right. No man is ever too busy to see a woman that he's falling in love with, or that he's in love with. You know, if a man says, even if he tells you he loves you, but he will not consistently make time for you over time, he will not make time for you consistently over time, that is a man who you are not a priority to him. And either his work is, or he's deflecting through work. He might be avoidant attachment style. You know, he might have a bunch of stuff going on. And again, we're going to go through all that stuff in the course. So if you want to really learn more about this stuff and dive deeper into it, come along with us in the Mastery of Connection. You're going to get 3 weeks of me talking and teaching about this stuff. And you got lots of great video lessons on all that. So there's a link in the description that you can click to be a part of that course.
I love it. And what you said is so true. I mean, my perfect example, my husband, Tom, you know, I talk about this all the time. I just recorded like 3 new videos on what to do if a man's really busy, because that seems to be like one of the top excuses men are giving these days. But from what I hear in women in my community, you know, my husband was is one of the busiest people I've ever met. We spent so much quality time together, so much, and we lived about an hour apart. He made me a top priority, just like his other top priorities. I never once felt, it just never affected our relationship. It just didn't. So if a man is, you know, busy, or he has his kids a lot or something, but he's also highly interested, he's going to figure out a way to fit you into his life, you know, to get in your schedule and in your life, so he doesn't lose you, right?
No matter what. No matter what. Yeah.
So true. It's so true. Speaking of attachment style, we got a great question about that. We also have a great question about, you know, how to bring up your difficult past with a man that you're attracted to. We'll get to those at the end. So great questions. Yeah. And yeah, let's dive into that next hidden sign.
So this one, so number 5 is one that I think is really important to recognize, is because many men are into sports, right? We're into sports and we're into doing our stuff, but a lot of us are intensely individualistic, right? So we're very focused on what we're into, our hobbies, our passions, right? But when a man is starting to emotionally invest in a woman, he starts to actually see outside of himself, and he starts to see you as his teammate, right? Like, because a lot of men are very oriented, very sport-like, right? So a man who's getting emotionally invested in you, he's going to see you as his teammate and his partner in shine, is what I like to say, rather than a partner in crime, right? Because he's going to want to have you next to him, and he's going to be very invested in helping you shine out there in the world. So when a man sees you that way, it's like your success becomes his success.
So true.
Right? So he's going to all the breakthroughs and the amazing stuff that's happening in your life, and he wants to be a part of it. He wants to help it happen, right? He wants to be that person, to be in your corner, cheering you on and making sure that you succeed. He's not going to feel threatened by it at an ego level. He's not going to be like, oh, like emasculated if you're having great success in work, or maybe you're, you know, making more money than him by a little bit or whatever. A man who's truly falling for you, he's not trying to like compete with you. He's on the same team as you, and he's not going to see you as the bad guy.
So true. Yeah. Absolutely. Has anyone ever had a man say you're too successful for me? I've certainly heard that right before I met my husband. And he's like the opposite. He just like, it's that partner in shine. I love that. The right guy's going to want to see you shine. They're going to want to help you out and contribute. Your success and you shining your light on the world isn't going to intimidate him. He's going to be drawn into that. Right. And so a whole healthy man, you know, who's empowered in and of himself. I think that's amazing. So
yeah, and then the opposite, of course. Yeah, the opposite, of course, is a man who feels like he always has to compete with you. He's threatened by your success. He may try to like guilt trip you or be passive aggressive or sort of try to undermine, you know, the things that are going right in your life. And then he sort of feels happy when you fail or when you're in a bad place, and he can sort of take care of you. That's like that's like a toxic codependency. So toxic, that's a man who's like very insecure with himself, who is almost like thriving and getting his ego boost off of, you know, you being weaker than him perceiving you as being weaker than him, and he gets to be like a protector in like a toxic way. So that's not the type of protector energy that you want. Okay. So like you want to avoid guys like that, because those are guys who are deeply insecure, and generally like they're not going to be good long-term partners.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, this is so great. Yes, for the 100 people watching live already, don't forget to like the video, show us some love. I'm loving all these comments and questions. And I know you also had 2 crucial steps to inspire a man's love and devotion. Is there anything you want to say about any of these other hidden signs before we get into that?
Yeah, well, I think we've got all those, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions that are going to sort of be tapping into those. But let's dive into the 2 big inspirations that I think, the 2 big steps that I think are important for you to inspire a man's love. And the first is to not just lean back, okay, but to embrace the cycle. What my theory is, and what my practice is with my clients and students, is to embrace the cycle of invitation and space. Okay, the cycle of invitation and space is sort of my take on leaning back, right? So because a lot of women, I think, when they hear leaning back, they interpret it as, you know, I need to just stay sort of like aloof and far back and make a man come to me. And I think that can actually undermine their connections with men.
It's a common misconception. Yeah, it's a big myth about feminine energy that's making a man feel like, you're not interested as well. Yeah, huge misconception. I'm
It's a
glad you're talking about
manipulation
this.
when it's done in that way. Yeah. And I'm sure
Totally.
Helena has cleared it up. And I want to share my take on it too, is to embrace the cycle of invitation in space. And so you got to remember that what men really want is to be invited to step forward. We want to be invited into your life, into your feelings, into your energy. We want to be invited to step out of our normal routine of our lives and into yours, and to have experiences with you. So make conscious invitations to him that are going to, on how you want to feel. Be like, I would love it if, we went to like a fun restaurant this weekend. Like, are you operating as an invitation to him? Are you inviting him to play with you? And then once you make an invitation to him, once you make a powerful feminine request from him based in a positive feeling statement, then you have to step back, and give him space to do that thing. Okay. And this is so important, right? Especially for women who maybe have had a lot of masculine energy in the past, where they feel like they've had to always be in control, and they have to micromanage things in their life or nothing goes right. Because here's the thing. If you ask a man to plan a dinner for you, right, and you make that invitation to him, but then you tell him where you want to go, what time you want to go there, also, what the budget is, how much you want him to pay, blah, 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 and you micromanage every detail of it, do you think he feels like he's being trusted with the planning of that date?
Right. Definitely not.
It's very emasculating. It's very, like, a man needs space. He really does. And so when you give a man space, it's you demonstrating to him that you trust him, that you honor his power, and that you're giving him space to step up and into, right? I like to say men are like bread. They need space to rise. So make an invitation, right? Make an invitation to him, get him activated, and then give him the space to fulfill it.
So good. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad we're talking about this. So space does not mean ignoring his text messages, playing some kind of game, applying tactics to try to make him more interested. It's exactly what you talked about. That was beautiful. Oh my gosh, everyone just rewind that last couple of minutes. Make sure to like burn that into your system. So great. And if you're, if you have questions like about how to do that in your unique situation, join Matt's free course, Mastery of Connection. I'm sure you go into that in a lot of detail, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Embracing the cycle of invitation in space, learning how to be activating and polarizing and inspiring to a man. We're going to be doing dozens of hours of live workshops in the third week on all that sort of good stuff. So
totally free, right?
100% free. All you got to do is fill out an application in the description there. And we start next week. We're so excited. We start next week. It's going to be a blast.
Yes. Love that so much. Okay. What is that second? Thank you. I love hearing this immediate feedback. I just love doing live streams like this. This is so much fun. What is that second crucial step to inspiring a man's love and devotion?
It's that don't be afraid to be a loving challenge to him. Another common misconception that so many women have is that they need to be these like soft, doughy pretzels that just sort of like mold themselves around whatever a man's, desires or needs are on any daily basis. And the bottom line is, men do not build value through being handed things. Men develop value in our eyes through investing in things that are challenging to us. It's just a foundational principle, right? Whether it be a business, whether it be, a career aspiration, or whether it be a relationship. Like, we want to invest in something. We want to put time and energy into something. And the more time and energy we put into something in an activating, inspiring, creative, fun way, the more value that thing represents to us. You know what I'm saying? So don't be afraid to be a loving, inspiring challenge to him. Don't be afraid to tease him or make fun of him, in a playful, loving way about things that are different between the two of you. Don't be afraid to tell him like your preferences. Like, well, no, I don't want to go out to dinner at this place. Can we go somewhere else? I don't really like that food, or I'm not really feeling that. And, give him the opportunity to respond to that. Like, men, we want to be challenged. We want to be, we want to have interruptions to, the routine and the status quo of our lives. And a relationship can be a really powerful way for us to, have a spontaneous interruption to just the rhythm and the monotony and the boredom a lot of times that our lives fall into.
So true. I love that so much. If you guys have specific questions about how to be a challenge, let us know in the chat. We're about to get to some questions here. Matt, do you want to recap? I see some new people joining. Do you want to recap the 5 hidden signals and the 2 crucial steps really quick while I scroll up and look for some questions?
Absolutely. Okay. So the 5 hidden signs that he's falling in love with you. The first is he future builds with you. He speaks about you in the future tense, about all the cool things that y'all are going to do together. You've captured his imagination, and he isn't afraid to talk to you about the future he sees with you. That's what happens when a man is really activated. Okay. The second one is he embraces your flaws with a smile. He doesn't just tolerate your badunkadunk booty or your weird laugh, right? Or your frizzy hair. He actually thinks it's adorable, it's cute, and he wants to be, you know, all over it all the time. Okay, that's a guy that's really, because he's celebrating what's making you different from other women, not ostracizing you for it. You know, a third thing that really demonstrates that he's, you know, really into you is he gets a little protective over you in a good way. Does that make sense? Like, so like say you two walk into a party. Like if I walk into a party with my girlfriend, I'm going to put my hand on her waist just so that everybody at the party knows, you know, this is my girlfriend. Not because I'm like a psycho, but just because, you know, I want people to understand the dynamic of what's going on here. Okay. So he's going to be a little territorial. He's going to be a little possessive, but it's in a way of just, you know, he has claimed you. You know what I'm saying? Like a man who's really into you has claimed you. Okay. The fourth one is he makes you feel like a priority emotionally and physically. When you text, he texts you right back. He checks in with you during the day. Your feelings are at the top of his mind on a regular basis. He always makes time for you, right? A man who is really invested in you, who's really getting into you, he makes time for you no matter how busy he is. Like if he's flying to the airport, he wants to stop at your work and take you out to lunch for a half an hour before he hops on that plane. Okay. No man is ever too busy to see a woman that he truly cares about. If a guy's saying he's too busy, that's a deflection. It's bullshit.
I agree.
Do not tolerate it, ladies.
Don't fall for it.
Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Right.
Yeah.
And the fifth one, and the one that, you know, is really important, they're all important, right? But this one's extremely important, is that he sees you as his teammate and partner in shine, meaning he is as invested in your success as you are. He is your biggest cheerleader. Your wins are his wins. You know, he's not like and he wants to help you in any way that he can, right? Anything he can do to help you become the greatest version of yourself, to help you achieve your dreams and your success, he's going to want to do that. He's not threatened by your success. He's not threatened by your growth and expansion. In fact, he wants to be a part of it, right? So if a guy is not really in your corner with all your success and the things that you're doing, that's something to be aware of. Okay. And it really just like the nutshell and a big question I want you to ask yourself for these 5 things, and also for all of a man's behavior, right, is I want you to ask yourself, does his consistent behavior over time make you feel more safe or less safe emotionally and in your body?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the check-in question, right? So these are 5 ways that a man can really create that safety, but whatever that looks like for you, right? Is his consistent behavior over time creating more safety or less safety for you? And that's how you're really going to be able to tell sort of like where he's at and if the dynamics in your relationship are healthy.
Yeah, I love it. Consistent behavior, his actions, not what he says, right? Ignore his words, watch his actions is something I'm starting to say more and more as I, you know, respond to comments from everyone in my community. You know, and his consistent actions, that's what I love about that. Not when you see him once a month, it's incredible, and then he drops off for another 3 weeks. His consistent action.
Yeah. Or you have one great date and then you have 2 or 3 dates that suck. And then you have another great night and then you have 2 or 3 times that aren't fun. You know, what is his consistent pattern of behavior over time, right? Like it's got to be showing up. It can't just be a one-off thing, right? Because that's when women end up investing in potential. Like, oh, well, if we just have more nights like that one night we had, you know, this would be the perfect relationship.
Yeah.
But is that happening every time? If it's only happening 20% of the time, ladies, get out of there. That's who he is, right? Is the majority of his behavior, not the minority.
Oh yeah. Don't hang on to that 10%, and ignore the 90%, which is inconsistent. So important. Everyone just needs to burn that into their brain. And then we also had our top 2 tips for inspiring a man's love and devotion. You want to recap those really quick?
Yes,
I'm seeing some new people
top
joining.
2 tips, right, are 2. The first one is to embrace the cycle of invitation and space. And this is my take on leaning back. And it's a little different in that instead of just like leaning back and waiting for a man to just like charge the moat and the drawbridge and scale your walls and do all your shit, like lean forward first and make an invitation. Right? Make an invitation. Give him that direct magnetic eye contact from across the room. Give him a smile. Give him a nonverbal invitation to approach you. Then look away and give him the time and the space to make that approach. Right?
Love it.
Tell him what kind of date you would love to go on, and then back off and give him the space to plan and execute that date. Men need that space, right? Because in that we need the invitation, right? So that we know what you want, because we're dying to know what you want. We really are. And then when you give us the space, it's you honoring and trusting our masculine ability to do the thing. And we need to feel that from you. If we don't feel that from you, if we feel like you're micromanaging every aspect of us giving you what we want, we feel like you don't trust us and like you don't think we're strong enough and capable enough of doing it. It's emasculating and it'll depolarize the relationship.
I love that. So I just want to add one thing in here that you mentioned before that I love. It's like, give him the space or not, because if you're doing everything, you're not going to be able to see what his true intentions are. So allow him to step up or not, and just let him show you what he's got. Right. That's what.
And a man, again, consistent behavior over time, right? If a man is not, if when you give him that space, he consistently does not step up, or he consistently just sort of like backs off or deflects or whatever, that's given you a great indicator, right? Of what his intentions are, how committed he is to this, and sort of like where his head is at. You know what I'm saying? So don't make an excuse for him. If you keep giving him that space and he's not coming forward, he's not rising up to meet you in that space, that is a man who, for whatever reason, just isn't feeling willing or able to give you what you want.
Yeah, so true. Love it. Okay, this is, I think, my favorite live stream I've ever done with you, Matt. This is great. I'm loving this. Let's get to some questions and comments. I guess it's just a comment. 45, single mom, never married, afraid to get hurt. Join Matt's course. It's totally free. And you will, dive into some of those beliefs. We had a woman on our last live stream in a very similar situation. So I totally, any quick thoughts here, Matt?
Well, what I like to tell, my clients and students, and again, I've worked with like 10,000 women worldwide, right, is that you cannot find love with your walls up and your guns out. Okay. And this is what happens to a lot of women, right? Is that they've gone through a lot. They've been hurt by men in the past. And they say, well, I really want to find love, but I don't want to risk getting hurt. I'm never going to let anybody hurt me like this guy did before. I'm never going to go through that shit that I did before. Whenever you're operating from a space of, I want to find love, but I'm not willing to risk being hurt. I'm not willing to risk being vulnerable and allowing myself to connect with men. You're not in a space to where you're able to foster intimacy with the masculine. Right? Because the masculine needs your vulnerability. We have enough walls and issues with intimacy on our own. And we need the feminine to help us lower our walls so that you can be our emotional sanctuary. We are craving emotional safety from women. Okay. So you have to be willing and have the courage to put down your walls, risk being hurt, and recognize that you're powerful enough and you're strong enough and you're valuable enough that no matter what a guy does to you, it's not going to change your value or your worth. It's never going to hurt you the way that happened in the past.
Yep. Oh gosh, that is beautiful. I love that. So many people in that situation. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Great question. How do you quickly determine if a man is avoidant, attached rather than securely attached? What should we look for, and what types of questions can we ask? I know you're great with questions, Matt. Can someone determine this quickly, or do they need to let some time go by and see what he does?
Well, this is an entire chapter in my course. We spent a whole week talking about, attachment style and how to discern attachment style. But the fundamental truth that you want to remember is that if a man is avoidant attachment style, he sees a high degree of intimacy as a threat to his freedom. Okay. He feels like it's going to undermine his business, or it's going to undermine his autonomy, which is a huge value, a hugely important thing to an avoidant attachment style partner. So they have a deep fear of someone being too close to them. So one of the things you want to look for an avoidant attachment style person is that they'll be they want connection. Don't get me wrong. but they want it very conditionally. They want it very specifically in a narrow range, right? So, and if you try to deviate from that, like, so they'll want to see you, but they'll only want to see you twice a week and only on their terms. They've got very specific terms for when and how they want to see you. And if you try to see them 3 times a week, or you try to ask them where this relationship is going, or you maybe tell them that you love them too soon, a lot of times they're going to push you away. They're going to push you back out. They're going to say, oh, well, I'm way too busy for that. I think you might want something more than what I'm capable of, yada, yada, yada. What a deactivating strategy. That means they feel like you're threatening their independence. And so they're going to do or say something to deactivate and push you away from them. So that's just a pattern that you want to look for. Whereas a secure guy would be like, yeah, I'd love to see you, more often if that'd be cool with you. A lot of times, the person who's secure attachment style takes a lot of responsibility for the emotional well-being of their partner.
Yeah.
So
oh gosh, love that.
Will be like, oh, it bothers you that we only see each other twice a week, so let's see each other 3 times a week. That sounds great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The intimacy, it's going to deepen and progress over time. It's not going to stay at the same level, where a year or more has gone by and you just are still only seeing him, twice a week or, anything like that.
Yeah. So, if you're just a holding pattern where a relationship is just staying at like a surfacey or a semi-surfacey level, and you don't want that, but every time you try to move forward, a guy keeps backing off or deflecting or finding all these reasons or excuses or whatever, that's oftentimes, you're in a holding pattern with an avoidant guy.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
There won't be any evolution of the relationship.
We've all been there. So you can probably recognize what that feels like, right? She has one more question. How do you bring up your difficult past, or do you, when a man is attracted to you and wants a future with you? I get questions like this all the time. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Matt.
I think it's very, very, very important that both you and your partner share your past with each other in a loving and supportive way, right? So one of the best ways to do that, right, is to start off by asking him about his past, right? So rather than leading with your own, one of the ways to open the door for a vulnerable or intimate conversation on anything is to ask him. So, I've been wondering, like, what was it like for you growing up? Or how is your relationship with your mom? Like it's good pillow talk too, like stuff to do, when you're in sort of like a semi-vulnerable, semi-intimate conversation. If you lead with a question and then hold space in a very, non-judgmental, very curious way. And again, the energy that you ask these questions is so important, right?
Yes.
Because you always want to be asking, especially vulnerable questions, from a space of softness, from a space of curiosity, from a very space of safety, right? Because a lot of times men are going to be very scared to answer these questions, especially if they've got shame or trauma in their past. So for example, asking a man what his kinks are, like you want to ask that, like, so I'm really curious, is there anything that you want to try that maybe you haven't done before? Because a lot of times, like, a man will be scared to answer that question directly because he doesn't want to be judged for his answer. So you want to make it clear energetically that, you're asking this question in a loving, curious, soft way. And so ask him about your past, ask him about his past from that energy. And then, he's likely going to respond by asking you about yours. And then, you can, or you can respond to, oh, wow, that's interesting that, your mom beat you, or that you had that addiction in your past because, my dad was a narcissist, or I used to be, addicted to this and that. It sort of gives you connection points to then echo back to him, some of your own stuff. And it'll happen organically rather than being like, all right, I need to tell you about all this, rough shit that I went through in my life, you see how you want to do it in sort of an organic, flowy way.
Yeah. Love that. Oh my gosh. That was great. We had a whole bunch of questions and comments pop in. So I was just trying to manage those. So we get to a few more. We have some really good ones here. Patty asks, how do you invite? He lives 2 hours away. You're getting acquainted. Any thoughts for someone in this situation?
I mean, I think 2 hours away, a lot of times for those early dates, finding like a middle ground, like sort of like an adventure for both of you, because your town, he knows his town, and I know it feels good. I mean, I've been in, I haven't been in that specific situation, but I've coached a lot of women in that situation, and I know as a man, I would really appreciate it if a woman is like, oh, well, let's meet in the middle somewhere. Not like, well, you have to come all the way over to me all the time. I mean, I'm sure he would, especially if he's like excited about you, right? But why not meet him in the middle and do something new for both of you? Like, so invite him to, you know, find a cool restaurant or a cool activity that's somewhere between the two of you, somewhere around the middle, you know, and let him plan an adventure date in a place that neither of you have been, you know,
Okay, love it.
Treat that space not as like an obstacle, but as a way to be spontaneous and to do something different and new, right? Remember, men are looking for a challenge. We're looking for an interruption. We're looking to have new experiences with the feminine. So it's a great way for them to do that.
Speaking of that, Melanie asks, I think I'm too much of a challenge. Is there such a thing as being over advantageous? Talking about that second crucial step you shared to, you know, I hear about this all the time. Can you be too much of a challenge?
Oh, Melanie.
Distinction there.
Well, there is a I consider it to be a little bit of a toxic feminine thing where like they almost glorify being like super difficult to guys, you know, and they're like, I'm gonna make him work for everything, and I'm just gonna, like, you know, it's almost like they glorify being like a pain in the butt to a guy. So like you wanna back away from seeing men not as the enemy, or like that you need to test them, right, through challenges. Okay. So don't be deliberately or overtly or over the top difficult to a guy. Okay. Because that over time, that may be fun for a little while for a guy, but if that continues on indefinitely, let me be clear, a man will burn out on that. A man doesn't want to feel like, oh my God, she's not happy with the food again, or like this wasn't a big enough date, or she's asking for so much every time we hang out, you know, like any time that a man feels like a woman is just sort of like, because it's almost like a manipulation, you know, like a woman feels like she needs to be constantly exerting power or dominance, or pushing him. If a man starts to feel that, he's not going to be able to trust you.
Yeah,
you know,
love that. I'm like laughing.
It doesn't matter how attracted he is to you or how inspired he is by you. If he feels like he can't trust you, or like you're just sort of like trying to jerk him around to get what you want or whatever, he's gonna eventually gonna check out.
I'm like trying not to laugh over here. We know people like that, don't we, Matt? And it's just this repelling energy.
We know.
Not to say that you're doing this, Melanie. This is just a very specific type of like wounded energy that repels the empowered energy. So probably topic for a whole nother live stream. Oh my gosh. Okay, what about this one from Gina? Any quick tips for surmounting a self-sabotage mentality? I always just end up with sex because I reckon I just don't deserve love. Love is what I want, though. Oh, that's a great question.
It's a great question. There? And so, you know, this all goes back to your beliefs, right? And so beliefs is what we covered, Gina, in module 1 of Master Your Connection. So if you want to come along and do some deep work around your beliefs, you know, click the link in the bio or click the link in the description and come along with us into my course that we start next week. But really, you know, what you get to look at is you got to look at the way that you see yourself, right? Because the way you see yourself, your identity, it flows from what you believe about yourself, what you've seen from your parents, right? And the way that your parents interacted with each other and the way that they've engaged with you, right? And you need to recognize that until you change those beliefs, until you really look at your identity and you make a conscious choice that love isn't just what you want, but it's what you deserve. It's what you're worthy of. It's in your DNA. And you don't need to do anything to earn the right to be loved. You don't need to, you know, offer a man physicality, offer a man sex in order to get attention. That you're worthy of being loved for the being that you are. Like that's something that you get to really embrace and adopt, right? And it's going to take you letting go of some addictive patterns, right? Because a lot of times, you know, the fact that you always just end up with sex is because you show up and you try to earn the right to be loved by offering that, you know, because it gives you a quick fix, right? It gives you a quick, easy validation and gratification of like, oh, well, he's paying attention to me in this moment because, you know, I've let him know that, you know, or I've indicated to him that I'm going to sleep with him or whatever else, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, as well as I do, Gina, that isn't a long-term or fulfilling way to build a relationship.
Totally. But really if you don't believe it, thing.
If you don't believe it, my dear, if you don't believe that you're worthy of love, if you don't believe that you're worth more than just physical connection, it doesn't matter how much you want it. You know, when your beliefs
Yeah.
and your desires come into conflict, your beliefs always win.
Oh, that's so true.
You know?
Yeah. A lot of people in this situation. Yeah. So for Jess and Gina and anyone who, feels maybe deep down that they're not worthy of the love that you consciously say you want, join Matt's course, totally free. It's the first link in the description. Close the live chat, click the title of this video. I'll drop it in the comments too when we're done. Do you have time for a couple more questions?
Yeah.
Here's a great one.
We're having fun.
This guy I know keeps texting me, but then takes a day or longer to respond. Why does he keep texting me? Great question. Love to get a man's perspective on this.
Yeah, and it could be a lot of reasons. The fact that it's taking a day or longer to respond, it's not a good sign. I mean, it may be that he's just trying to keep you warm, like because he's got a lot of women that he's talking to and he's just pinging you to just sort of test and see if you're still available, but he's not interested enough to want to move things forward. It may be that he's just not somebody who is very connected to his phone. Some people, especially people from, older generations, right? They only check their phone like once a day or a couple times a day because they're out doing something else. They just don't like their phones, So, but in general, if it's taking him a day or longer to respond every time, it's not a great sign because, a man who is interested, he's going to make more time. He's going to be more immediate than that, so a lot of times when I hear something like that, that's a red flag for me that a guy might be a player because he's not interested enough to push things forward and want to see you, but he just wants to see if you'll keep responding to just show that you're interested enough, that he can follow up with you later.
Totally. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Great question from Nicolette. I hear this all the time. What if he says that he feels I deserve better than him?
I mean, that's honestly a very common thing that a lot of men deal, by the way, with devastating self-worth issues. A lot of men have huge self-esteem problems. We're incredibly self-conscious. We've got shame. We've got trauma. We've got mama trauma. We have all sorts of shit that's going around in our head. And a lot of men don't have the courage to say that, Nicolette. So the first thing I want you to do is not just devalue him for the fact that he says that. Obviously, that's not something that any woman, necessarily wants to hear, because that's not a sign that a man is super confident, right? But on the other side of that, you almost want to commend him. You can thank him for being vulnerable. And it depends on the depth of relationship you have with this guy. But if this is a guy that you really want to get to know, if this is a guy that you care about, you can thank him for being vulnerable. And then instead of just trying to talk him out of it, why don't you ask him why he thinks that? Why do you think you deserve better than me? Or why do you think that I deserve better than you? I'd love to hear that. And then hear what he has to say. He might say, well, you're so beautiful. You're so this, you're so that. And I'm just this, loser or whatever else. Like whatever he says to you in response, it's going to help you understand how he sees you and also how he sees himself. Right. And then you can maybe help him heal. Oh, well, why do you think that you're such a loser? You're such an amazing, powerful man. Why would you think you're such a loser? Oh, well, because, I don't make as much money as I'd like. And, my mom always told me that when I was a kid or, who knows? It'll really help you get to know him better. And then you can help understand how to heal him and support him and be there for him in a meaningful way.
Yeah, love it. And I love that coupled with your initial advice in this video, watch his consistent actions. Is he's making you feel more safe or less safe over time? Because if this is just one of his many excuses and he's not prioritizing you, then you might want to believe him that maybe you do deserve better than what he has to offer right now, right?
Well, if he's using it as a grounds to deflect or a grounds to not see you or hang out, then that's not cool. I was more thinking of it, that maybe he's just sort of feeling sorry for himself.
Yeah, totally.
He's not super confident in the relationship because of his trauma.
Yeah, it depends on where you're at. It's so amazing how the nuances of your situation matter so much. So join Matt's course. You can get personally coached, during Matt's online office hours, totally free, and he can help you out with your unique situation. What about this one? Let's take a couple more because I know we're almost out of time. What if the guy did everything perfect, paid, initiated, gentleman, etc., but won't say you are in a relationship? I acted high value and I was myself.
So, and it sounds like, are y'all in a relationship? Because if you're, okay, so he's doing all the right things, but he won't say you're in a relationship, right? So the first question I want to ask you is, have y'all established explicitly that you were in a relationship? Or is there an assumption that because he's doing these things that you're in a relationship? Because if y'all are acting like you're in a relationship, you're acting like boyfriend and girlfriend, you're acting like whatever, but you have not had an explicit conversation around it yet, you can't hold him responsible for not honoring that. Does that make sense? Like, so the first step is to ask yourself, have you explicitly set up the terms of y'all's relationship? And does he know that y'all are in a relationship? Because men will act like boyfriends, you know, without being boyfriends. Like, it's a default. It's a default for a lot of guys. Oh, okay. So here she says, dated 5 months, says he doesn't know what he wants. Okay. So yeah, this is a guy that just doesn't want to be in a relationship. So he wants to play the role, right? And this is what happens to a lot of men. They want to play the role of the boyfriend without the title and the responsibilities and the inhibitions, the deprivations of freedom that come with the title of being the boyfriend. You know, they're like, oh, I'll take you out to dinner and I'll say nice things to you and we can, you know, play house. But, you know, don't label me with that, because then I can't talk to other women. Then I feel confined and I feel yada, yada, yada. And this is something that, you know, men who are afraid of commitment, men who are avoidant, men who have wounded masculine energy, or men who just like aren't that into you, that's how they're going to act.
Yeah,
you know,
men know what they want. Yeah, by 5, men know what they want, don't they, Matt?
That's horseshit. Yeah, the whole I don't know what I want. No, you know what you want, bro. Everybody knows what they want. That's just that's a deflection.
Yeah, I'll never forget, if you don't mind me sharing. I know we shared this in the video we did for your channel, but you know, I think it was after just a couple dates with your girlfriend. Matt called me up one morning. He didn't text me, he called me and he said, I met the most incredible woman. I'm on my way to, you know, I'm on a trip to Costa Rica or something, but when I come back, I'm going to claim her. I want to meet her family. I'm going to build a future for her. Like men know. Same thing. My husband knew within like 6 to 8 weeks that I was the one. It doesn't take men all this time. If it's, you know, if you've, like you said, showed him everything you have to offer, you were high value, you were yourself, you said in your last comment, and he doesn't know what he wants, you know, I would just take that as a sign that it's probably not the right man for you, right?
That's a clear indicator of a guy that's just not interested in being in a relationship with you, and you get to lovingly release that gentleman.
Yeah, I love what you were talking about. We'll just take another question or two because we're running out of time. But you were talking about, you know, having that talk about being exclusive versus just acting like you're in a relationship. Jenny says, what if he's planning a vacation together 6 months away, but we are not exclusive? Is he seeing me in his future?
I would say 100% yes, Jenny. I think that's a great sign, you know, that even before y'all are exclusive, he's planning a vacation for you together 6 months in the future. I mean, that's a sign that that he is future building with you, that he sees a future with you. He has no plans or intentions to be with anybody else. And again, this is if he is operating 100% on the up and up, right? And it's not some sort of calculated manipulation. I like to, you know, give men the benefit of the doubt, you know, and operate from a space of, you know, men are not the bad guy here. But 100%, if he's got a 6 month plan for a trip with y'all, then he's definitely seeing you in his future. And just between now and then is when y'all get to have a conversation, right? Around, well, you know, before I go, and you could even bring it up organically. Well, you know, this vacation sounds super exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. And, you know, but before I go on an extended vacation with somebody, you know, it'd be wonderful to know sort of like where we stand, you know, like I'd love to go on that vacation with my boyfriend, you know, and just sort of like playfully throw it out there and sort of see how he responds to it. Because chances are he wants to claim you. Maybe he's scared. I don't know. Maybe he thinks that the trip will sort of like autopilot y'all into it or something, but don't be afraid to sort of bring it up. Because if he's with you, he's not really afraid of commitment.
I love what you said there. That was great for anyone in a situation like that. I know that's really common too. We have some great questions about long distance, question about what if I'm the avoidant one. I've been getting this more and more on my channel. Would you recommend, I mean, this could be a whole nother video. Can you help women in your Mastery of Connection course who are on the avoidant side or who are in a long distance situation, and any kind of last words of wisdom before we close out? For
100%, especially around attachment style. Your attachment style is not fixed. Okay. Your attachment style is not fixed, nor is your masculine feminine energy balance. So if you have a ton of masculine energy, you've been pushing men away, you haven't been giving men the space to sort of like be in their masculine, you've gone through a lot of wounding, you know, that can can be released. That can be reversed. Similar with attachment style. I used to be horrifically anxious attachment style. I was incredibly needy. I was always like pulling women towards me who were very wounded. I had massive self-worth issues. And through doing the work that we're going to be doing in this course, by doing belief work, by mastering your attachment style and healing the wounds of your past trauma and your past relationships, by changing your beliefs and adopting and operating in alignment with them, your attachment style will shift. Right.
Yeah.
And your relationships will start to transform. Okay. So just because you're avoidant now, like once we get to the root of what your fear is around intimacy and commitment, and we start to release and change that, everything starts to transform. So just know that if you're avoidant, it doesn't have to be this way.
I'm saying with anxious. I mean, typically it's more the anxious attachment style people seeking, help in their relationships, right? So I'm loving that I'm seeing the other side of this too come in and kind of looking for tips on how to heal themselves and improve their relationship. So whether you're anxious, attached, or secure, I would say join Mastery of Connection. I think you'll get a lot of help, right?
Whether you're single or you're dating or you're in a relationship, in any chapter of your life and relationships, this course will help you have better relationships with yourself and with everyone in your life, not just your romantic relationships, but your family, your friends. I mean, because your beliefs about yourself and about intimacy and about connection, those correspond to everything, right? The way we do one thing is the way we do everything. Yeah. So you want to make sure that you are operating, in a very aware and conscious way in your relationships with other people. So it's going to be an amazing time. We're going to have a blast, and we're going to really help you transform your life in this course.
Absolutely. So what, if people are listening right now, or maybe they're listening a few months from now, what can they do? Apply, you want to just apply, right? You can always apply to be a beta tester. Close the live chat. I've said this 100 times, but we have some new people joining. Click the title of this video. It'll open up the description. It's the first link in there. 100% free, no strings attached. All Matt is looking for is feedback on the course and testimonials. And it's the most high value thing. If you're going to take one thing, I recommend, take this free course. It's my absolute favorite thing to send women to, because it's just life-changing and so transformative, such deep transformative work. And I know you have a lot of fun with your ladies in that course.
Oh, it's a whole, it's a party. It's a 3-week party. It's a family. Like the community that we create in 3 weeks and the amount of support and fun that we have is absolutely ridiculous. Like you wait, a lot of laughs, a lot of fun, adventurous workshops, I mean, you'll get your questions answered, and you'll have a lot of fun, and you'll have some major breakthroughs. I guarantee it.
We did Matt invited me to do a live Q&A with his Mastery of Connection group last week. We had a blast. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this group. Like, it was just so much fun. So you guys are going to absolutely love it. Again, totally 100% free, no strings attached. So just go ahead and apply. The link is in the description. I'll add it to the comment section too. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to like the video. And Matt, this is one of my favorite live streams we've ever done. I think this is great. So everyone, go back, watch the beginning. If you're just joining, take notes.
Yeah.
And we will hopefully, Matt will hopefully see you in the course. And Matt, thank you so much again. This was so much fun. I loved this one.
Thank you, Helena. It was so much fun. So great to connect with all you amazing ladies. Again, click the link, apply, send me an email if you have any questions. My team is here to support you. And I cannot wait to connect with y'all again soon. We're going to have a blast.
Awesome. All right. We love you guys. See you next time.
Lots of love. Bye-bye.
Bye.